Okay, today's exercise is the is the new one, right? Yeah. So, 二口其余两舌, but in the other text, 两舌 is first. So I'll cover this first. So divisive speech. So in other words, to say things to one person or two person with the intent of dividing them, of creating disharmony. No? So so here I want to highlight that there is a very interesting situation where we may unconsciously be doing it. Yeah. Let's say, so of course there are three parties involved. You cannot be speaking things to divide yourself with others. You want to divide, just divide, don't have to speak. Yeah. So there's always three parties involved. So let's say you are close with party A, and you encountered party B, person B, and person B, you you had a bad experience, and as a result, you form a certain impression, and later on, you found that party A is becoming friends with party B. So then you remember the Buddhist teaching, yeah, you must liberate sentient beings. Or you must help sentient beings. So out of kindness of your heart, you go and tell person A, hey, you must be careful now. Person B, like this, like that, like this, like that, like this, like that. So does this count as divisive speech? It depends. So if I recall correctly, one angle is you speak to A about B, and then you speak to B about A. Hence the term 两舌, you speak different things to both sides, then get them to fight with each other. So I say that this scenario is a bit fine line, because what constitutes impression and what constitutes fact or truth, right? We may genuinely feel that the person is up to no good, yeah, person B, yeah, and hence we warn person A about it, yeah. So, but is our intent merely to warn, yeah, of the person B, or is it purely like we don't like person B, so we don't want person A to be close to person B? Yeah, so this is where hard for anybody else to tell you which one you are. Yeah, and sometimes hard for us to tell also. Yeah, so as a general rule, before you speak ill of somebody, before you pass your reviewer, like on nowadays online, there's a lot of YouTubers who are reviewer. Yeah, before you review another person, review yourself first. Make sure that your review of the other person is not tainted by yourself. Yeah. So if you are absolutely clear of your intent, okay, then I would say it's safe, yeah, to share. Yeah, but even then, even then, I want to share with you my own encounter, which is I can maybe share. I always have a lot of things to share, but I think I should limit the number of examples I give. I will give two examples. One is the negative example. The other one is the other one also negative example. Okay, I share the first one first. So back in university, some of you have heard this story many times, but the same story you can slice from different angle and learn different things. So this story is about how I failed two subjects in year 2. Yeah, but in particular, one of the subject I remember, CE 203. CE stands for Computer Engineering. Yeah, CE 203 is Control and Instrumentation. The professor, the lecturer was Dr. Clement Chia. Yeah, you can go and search. So I took that in year 2. But prior to the start of the semester, I remember there was some chit chat among friends, yeah, of my course, basically my course mates, and some of them were like ranting about him. You know how students, yeah, always rant about the lecturers. There's no one lecturer that everybody say, oh, good, good. You, any lecture you find, there will be somebody who don't like that lecture. Yeah, and there will be somebody who is willing to attest that how horrible that lecture is. So the funny thing is that in year 1, I never attend any of his lecture. Yeah, because usually for each subject there's a main lecture and there's a second lecturer. Yeah, or sometimes there are 3 lectures. Usually only 2 lah, because our cohort is quite small, about 300 over of us. So and sometimes and then there are those who are not lecturers but they are tutors. So in any case, even though I have never attended any of his lecture in year 1, but I heard from my students about how lousy he is or whatever. And at that point in time, I never once thought that I am so easily affected, you know. But as a result of that conversation and just that conversation alone, oh, I tell you, the things we do to ourselves. In year 2, when I attended the lecture, I was basically like disinterested in his lecture. Yeah, and whatever he say, I have something to pick on, you know. And of course, if you attend class, if you attend lecture in this way, confirm, confirm your absorption. So in the end, fail, fail. The other subject is another story altogether. Yeah, but after the exam is over, when I received my results, failed 2 core subjects, failed 1 language. I even failed my advanced theory that semester, the driving test. that semester was my failing semester. Yeah, it's like all the failures I'm supposed to have all come at that year. Bam, one time. Yeah. Side note, um, I would have qualified uh, to be known to be diagnosed as having depression during that period. But fortunately, I was born earlier, so I don't have depression. Yeah, because nobody told me I have depression, so I don't have depression. Not nowadays, feeling a bit like that, then oh, I think you have depression. Let me go and see a doctor. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, go and see a doctor. Then doctor say, ask you a few questions. Okay, you're diagnosed with clinical depression. Then, oh, I have depression. So I cannot do this, I cannot do that. Oh, I have anyway. Uh, I know I always sound like I'm always very dismissive of people with depression, but I don't know. That's a different talk altogether. In any case, during the holidays, yeah, I really have no mood for anything. Not even playing games. Can you imagine at that age, game was my number 1 or number 2 passion. No? I didn't even have mood. Although I already had cleared finished my exams, right? Holiday, every day you can play, nobody to, especially when they're hostel. But every day when I woke up, I even turn on the computer, no, but I look at the screen, look at the game, and I just, what's the point of all this? Every day that was the number 1 thought in my mind. I go for the points awards board meeting as the Honjan sec for the hall representative, and every meeting I go, what's the point of all this? That was just number 1 thing going through. And then I thought to myself over that few weeks, and I reflected over my own failure, and I thought, if that lecturer is indeed a lousy lecturer, then everybody should fail, or at least a significant number of people should fail, you know. But the failure rate is, as usual, that small percentage. Now, we can argue and say that, oh, they moderate, but it's impossible to moderate from, like, let's say 60% failure to 10%. They only moderate, the skew is actually rather nominal. And usually they weight the skewing. So it's not a whole shift, no. It's weighted. Yeah. It's weighted to get certain number so that the A's usually weighted to avoid the number of A's to be too high. So in any case, what happened? Then I thought, but if I'm lousy, if I'm totally lousy, then like I should fail all subjects also. I didn't fail all subjects. So I came up with this 2 by 2 matrix. Maybe I should draw for you. Let me draw for you very quickly, I promise. 2 by 2 matrix. So this is what I drew. At that point in time, I didn't draw it, but I figured it out. So this is, but I say 2 by 2, how come there are so many squares, right? So this is like 80%, 60%. Some of you would have seen this table before. Okay, can you all see the table? The very crappily drawn table. Okay, so can see, I see Serene wear specs to see. Very good. So I don't want to assume that all lecturers are bad. We shouldn't assume that all lecturers are good. And we shouldn't assume that all students are good or bad also. And we cannot expect that lecturers can teach 100%, even if any of them can. So let's assume that a good lecturer can teach up to 80% of what he's supposed to teach, or at least express sufficiently to 80% of what he's supposed to express. And a mediocre one, maybe it's lower, but let's assume a 60%, okay? Yeah, so that, I mean, it's impossible that NTU hire a lecturer that teach below 60%, right? So let's assume that even a top student in university can only take in 80%. And the worst of the kind is still at least 60%. So I figured if a good student meet with a good lecturer, then what is the total amount that the student can learn from each lecture? Your maths, you all go and calculate, is basically 64%. Right? 8 times 8 is 64, right? Then a good student meeting a lousy lecturer, 48. Then of course over here the adjacent quadrant is also 48. Then lousy student with lousy lecturer, 36. So what does this mean? It means that ballpark figure, a good student after lecture don't even have to study and will get at least a C, yeah, or a B, get around a B already. That's why you see some students, some of your friends, how come never study but just get B, yeah, default B, yeah, they just study a bit, A. Yeah, because they managed to absorb at least 64%. You don't need to get 100% to get A, right? But some lecturers are lousy. So the good students only absorb 48. But he just had to study a bit, he passed. And he study harder, he'll get B. He has to study quite a bit more, then he get an A. But that's assuming if the lecturer is so lousy. Okay? Now, what about the lousy student who only choose to absorb, or who is only able to or choose to absorb up to only 60% of whatever is taught by the lecturer? Then with even a good lecturer or teacher, that student can only absorb up to 48%, with which if he don't revise and do his own studying, after that he will be failing. Yeah. And if he heng sui sui, he kena the lousy lecturer. Yeah. This is the super combo. Yeah. Super combo. Then what happened? Default is E, F. Yeah. Default, he will fail. And he need to really work hard in order to improve this. Make sense or not? Yeah, make sense, So what? This is just life, right? So what? So I figured, as far as the lecturer is concerned, This part, I can't control this. I can't control how the lecturer is. By the time you do the lecturer review at mid-semester or three-quarter semester, it's too late. You cannot control how the lecturer is. You can not only control what kind of student you want to be, whether you want to be the 80% student or the 60% student. Wait, but you may say, hey, but Sifu, even for 80% student, he's still affected by the lecturer. Yes, granted. But at least if you look at the results here, by being a good student, by being attention, by ignoring your own bias against the lecturer, you are benefiting yourself. Because if you compare this with this, 64 versus 48 is higher. 48 versus 36 is higher. The question is, when you go to school, are you there to assess the lecturer or are you there to learn? If you are there to learn, you must always maximize your results. Now, whereas if you choose to say, oh, because lecturer is lousy, so I also lousy, then congrats. What can we do for you, right? So now in that light, then it makes sense when you look at the Tibetan tradition. Why they always say that you must treat your lecturer, the Rinpoche or your guru as though he's enlightened. Because then you would put in the 80% effort or 100% effort. Regardless of how good or how bad he is, you will still benefit you. He will still benefit you. Yeah. So this back to the divisive speech. I'm actually covering both sides, which is if you were to do divisive speech, here I'm going a bit beyond the act of divisive speech, but to get people to realize that just one word, no, or breakfast like that, just one word from us can affect how people perform, and it can affect, taint, color people's perception, and ruin the person's whole year, Now, but I'm not telling you that I blame my classmates. I don't blame them. Yeah. I never once blamed them for what they said. I blame myself for being so stupid. Yeah. Not that I'm stupid to listen to them, no. Stupid to color myself. Yeah. Nobody can color our perception. We color ourselves. We are very smart. We take a color pencil, color. Ooh, oh, here I have a spot color. Yeah. So on the speaking end, don't do this to others. Yeah. But on the receiving end, be careful of what people tell you. There will always be good friends and good colleagues who come and tell you, hey, I consider you my friend. That's why I tell you this. You have no idea how many students I've counseled for work, for school, where they tell me that, Shifu, I feel very depressed. What happened? There's this friend of mine who told me that a lot of people, everybody in the hall says that I'm like this, I'm like that. Then I'm like, okay, then I write down. Then I ask, how do you know that it's everybody? No ma, he say that everybody ma. So first of all, how does he know that it's everybody? Number two, why is he telling you? Number three, when he heard people say, did he defend your modesty? Did he defend your honor to tell them off? Then the student, huh? Yeah. I tell you, there are a lot of good friends out there. But again, even for such scenario, I told that student, I say, but do not assume the worst of people as well. Do not assume that because of what happened, that this friend who told you did it with bad intention as well. You cannot tell. Just based on that, you cannot tell. Yeah. Because based on that, the person may truly be acting with the best intent, trying to, um, like notify you of possible harm. Yeah. But sometimes people say without thinking, yeah. So the easiest way is the next time the people tell you about such matters, right? Ask them, why are you telling me? The trouble is we're afraid that people will not tell us. Yeah. Sifu, if I tell them like that, like this, right? Next time they don't tell me anymore. I will not have any of this story. Why would you want all these stories? Sometimes my work is very simple. I don't go around asking people about anything. I also don't, I'm not interested in hearing anything about anything. So my work is very simple. Whole place collapse really. I also don't know. Yeah. So if you ask me about my past workplaces, I will tell you no, not much, not really any office politics, but tech industry, and these two companies are like at the forefront of how can there be no politics, right? Yeah, but I never experienced office politics because I just don't care. So last thing I want to tell you is, um, I like what this colleague told me last time. He said, "Hey, you know that who or not?" Then I say, No. So you have no experience with it? Then, no. Okay, then I don't tell you. I don't want to color your perception. So there are two things here. One is, it's not a bad thing not to share things that may color people. Yeah, number one. That's good, right? Number two, by saying that you're coloring really. So be careful next time when people tell you, hey, you know that word, better don't tell you. It will color your perception. Yeah. So sometimes people do it truly with the intent not to color you, no. But by doing it, they are coloring you. Correct? If I tell you all, hey, do you know about that center? Oh, you all don't know. Don't tell you, don't tell you. Let you go and experience yourself. That is coloring you already. So I'm actually quite a stupid person in a sense. Stupid in a sense that I don't have many concepts. But it is true, a lot of very smart people around me that I learned all this. Yeah. Although I don't do it. So recently I told a student, I said, you ask yourself, lor, you know me for how many years? When have I asked you like, hey, what that person, how is that person? Or ask you or tell you that person like this, like that. I rarely ever, yeah. If ever I discuss about a person, I would be ready to repeat exactly the same thing in front of that person. So today's exercise, yeah, go and examine the instances where we engage in such speech. And I want to include both types. One which is clearly divisive, yeah, which I think is actually quite, you must really go out of your way to do it. That means you tell A about B, then tell B about A. So this is the clear-cut one. This is clearly under divisive speech. You tell both parties things to get them to fight. Then after that, office, there are people who are like that. They tell, hey, that during the meeting that day, that wow, wow, luckily you didn't attend. You didn't attend, luckily you didn't attend. Then after that, tell them, hey, that day after the meeting, that who said what? Yeah, office, there are stupid people, right? Then after that, hey, coin. Hey, that who go into his office, really, come, lie. Yeah, so this is clearly divisive. If you ever engage in this, quickly go and repent. Not good, not good. Yeah. The other one is where you are not so clear. Even not so clear one, write down. Go and re-examine it. Uh, uh, I think there are cases in the suttas where a common thing is between love, rivalry. Yeah. So 三角恋, three person in love with each other. Usually not with everybody lah. Yeah, either boyfriend, two guys and one girl, or two girls and one guy. Yeah, then the one of them will chochok the other, chochok the main person and say, you know that person horrible, beep, 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 beep. Think about it, okay? Try. Not go and try divisive speech. Try the exercise. Okay. Today is Wednesday. Wednesday. What adjective is there for Wednesday?
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Have I used it?
Oh, I think.
Probably. It's okay. Okay. Can. Have a wonderful Wednesday ahead. Okay. Bye-bye.